All right, my friends, I was not able to access the Dvar Malchut, but I have the book and I'll give the class without the text. You'll just look at me all the time. If you don't want to look at me, then you don't have to. You can just listen. And that's also an option, right? Just listening is an option. Okay, what did we talk about last time? We talked about that every Jew, every minute of his life, has to think about and do everything possible to bring the future redemption. The future redemption, as we said so many times before, is simply revealing the creator, the fact that there is a creator, and revealing the potential, the good potential, which is in every creation in the world, including me and you and every Gentile and every Jew, to reveal the truth. Okay, so where do we get this idea from? So the Rebbe gets the idea from, first of all, it says that Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, this is a very shocking story in the Talmud in Brachot, that there was a big argument in the Sanhedrin, in the high court. And Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he was the head, and he did some things to embarrass somebody, whatever. He was a very, how do you say, forceful person. And people felt that he was overstepping his boundaries. And because of that, they deposed him. They said, who's going to take his place? So they said, well, let's take Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he was only 18 years old. Some people say 17 years old. Anyway, so they said, well, he's too young, so it looks too young. Even though he was a tremendous genius and he was a holy person, and etc. So that night there grew, white, his beard turned white, white strands in his beard, whatever, his beard grew white. And they said, oh, he is wise, he's great wise. Now he even looks wise. Now he looks wise, and his what's inside of him has also come out. And he looks wise, and he'll be the head. The first day he was made the leader of the Sanhedrin, of the High Court. The High Court is 71 rabbis. Okay, anyway. So he says, my whole life, I always wanted to say the sentence in the Torah, which talks about going out of Egypt. I wanted to tack it on to Shema Yisrael. We have to say Shema Yisrael twice a day. I wanted to put this paragraph on that talks about going out of Egypt. It also talks about tzitzit. I wanted to say that in the nighttime, and Ben Zoma came along and he explained that you should say it in the nighttime. He brought a sentence and a proof. You should say it. And the rabbi said that you should say it not only in the nighttime, but you should say it also in the days of the Mashiach. So the Rebbe makes this thing with the rabbi said you have to say in the days of the Mashiach to imply that even when the Mashiach comes and changes the world for the better, nevertheless, we have to remember and talk about going out of Egypt. So why? When Mashiach comes, the world is going to be better. There won't be any troubles. Leave the past alone. Come on, right? Some people being stuck in the past, not a good thing, not a healthy thing. Not a healthy thing. Like people with the Holocaust. Right? People went through the Holocaust, a terrible, awful scar it leaves on the soul. And one way to get over it is to get over it. Right? To get over it, you have to, as much as possible, concentrate on good. Don't let the past impede you or discourage you from doing good or how you do good. You have to put more emphasis on the future. And as much as possible, put the past behind you. Maybe the good things that were there, right? The good things, the bravery, the courage, but to think about all the time about how terrible it was and how you saw this person get killed and that person get killed. Okay, it's terrible. Once a year, you want to light a candle for them. There's some people make it on the 10th day of Tavis. They make a remembrance day. Good, but not all the time. Remember, here he says, the Rebbe says, no. Egypt was in a way much worse than the Holocaust. First of all the Jews were there. All the Jews suffered. There was not one Jew that got out. Right? They were also. So in some ways it was much worse, and there was no way there was fighting here. At least in the Holocaust, they had the Allies were fighting against the enemy. Here, nobody was fighting against. Who would fight against Egypt? Egypt was so ruled the whole world. They only had God to fight for them. So it says, no, you have to remember when you get out, when Mashiach comes, and then there's going to be only good. You have to remember going out of Egypt. Why? So it says, okay, let me read to this. I hope that this is going to work, and afterwards it's more interesting to see the text, but here, just do you believe there is a text? See the text? Yesh lo more abir b'zeh Geula Mitzrayim. Maybe I can do it like this, huh? You think you can do it like this? Here we go. Look at this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch what I'm going to do here. Look at this. Huh? I got a pointer and everything. Okay. Yesh Lomer, we can say Abir Bazeh. The explanation is they don't see me. You see my finger? That's okay. You already saw me enough. Yesh Lomer, we can see Abir Bazeh. The explanation is like this: Begulas Mitzrayim, when the Jewish people left Egypt, Nitchadesh, there was renewed, there was invented, Kalala Se'inyan Geula, the whole idea of Geula. The Jewish people were slaves in Egypt. What's the good thing about it? Going out. There was never such a thing before in the world. Never such a thing before in the world. Petichat Atzinor, this was opening up the pipeline, ala Geula, to the future redemption, gam mi'agalut to all of the redemptions afterwards, including the future redemption, even more. If we would have merited back then, going out of Egypt would be, it would have been a complete redemption. There wouldn't have been any exile. It would have fixed up the whole sin of the tree of knowledge. We would have gone immediately into Israel, built the holy temple, and served God the way we're supposed to be. We'd be a healthy people, right? Both in a way, Hashem Yimloch L'Olam, that God will rule forever and ever. Just like Shabbat Yisrael, like the Jewish people said when they went over Yam Suf, when they went over the Yam Suf. Because the Jewish people would have gone in immediately to the land of Israel, Geula Shlema, in the complete redemption. Ella, but because they got mixed in Sadadim, external factors, golden calf, etc. Harizeh, Lonit Kaim, it didn't actually happen. Alpiza, according to this, Yesh Lomar, we can say, Shamiti Ta'inyan, that the true thing of going out of Egypt, he is Yamota Mashiach, going out of the days of the Mashiach. It was not supposed to be two things. It was supposed to be the Jewish people left Egypt, received the Torah, went into Israel, built the temple, and that would have been it. We would have been serving God like Adam was supposed to have done from the beginning of the creation, but even better. It would have been the Geula Mitit V'Shlema, the true, total redemption of the Jewish people, and Mitit V'Pnimiut, the true and the inner idea of the days of the Mashiach is Geula Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt. Going out of Egypt, that was the final stage. It was supposed to be. Ella, but Paul, because of Sibus Tzadadis, because of side things, Yesh Beneim, there is a big interruption of time. So it seems, until Geula Shlema, until the future redemption comes, Bapoil comes actually. But call is on all the time. Sheben time, that meanwhile, between the going out of Egypt and the future redemption, it's already been 3,300 years. Call Yemechayecha, all of the days of your life. There has to be Tizkoret Yom Tzedcham Eretz Yisrael. You have to remember the days of going out of Egypt. You have to remember. Until Kol Yamim, all of the days Miyamei Geula, and from the time of the first redemption from Egypt, Migalas Mitzrayim, until the Geula Tid, until the future redemption, which is supposed to have happened right now. Bimei Rabbi Yameinu Amen. May it come quickly. Hey, they are Yamei Tzedcham Eretz Yisrael. They are the days of going out of Egypt. Hayot, because Yetziat Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt, he is, but Penimiyut Inyan is really the internal soul of the days of the Mashiach. Lochem, therefore, Zechiat Yetziat Mitzrayim, therefore, going out of Egypt all of your life, Kolel B'Mele, also the days of the Mashiach. It's something like a birthday. You know, the Rebbe said people should make birthdays. What happens when you're born? It's no big deal if you think about it. I mean, you're born, you have no personality, you're totally helpless, you're totally useless, right? You don't benefit anybody when you're born. Exactly the opposite. You're dependent on everyone around the world. The whole world is, and you cry and you dirty up everything and you're demanding and you're screaming and you're, right? It's no wonder that people don't want to have children. No wonder that people don't want to have children. Why? Because people are selfish and people want to be selfish, right? That's all. People want to be selfish. What do you need a child for? So the answer is no. From this child is going to grow a human being. And the human being is going to be a person just like me and you. And if we think that anything is valuable, so for sure that's valuable, but you don't see it in the beginning. But that's the seed. The essence of a human being is, what is some poet write? The child is the father of the man. Right? Usually people give birth to children. The child is the father of the man. In other words, the child grows up to be man. Alpiz, according to this movement, we can also understand. So the same thing, going out of Egypt, that was like the child. That was the birth of the Jewish people. That eventually gives birth to the man, the future redemption when God will be revealed. Well, the fact is, it was all supposed to happen back then. What's this here? No. All right, I guess I don't. Okay. According to this, we can also understand why Maskirin, it says Mitzrayim, why we mentioned going out of Egypt in the days of the Mashiach. Even though Sha'az, then Yehu will be in a Matzav Shel Geula, there'll be a total redemption. Geula Shalo Be'erech Legulas Mitzrayim. It'll be a higher way than anything like going out of Egypt. Right? When we went out of Egypt, the Jewish people were basically, they were like little babies. Spiritually, they were little babies. Emotionally, they were like little babies. They were completely unprepared for any sort of independence. And as soon as they got any measure of independence, Moshe left, so they worshiped the golden calf. They went berserk. But nevertheless, the going out of Egypt had a big advantage because, number one, Yetzias Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt, this is the beginning, and even more, this is the real inside, this is the soul of the going out of the days of the Mashiach. And number two, Yetziat Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt, when they went out of Egypt, this brought about a whole novelty in the days of the Mashiach. Sheyeshnam, it has, going out of Egypt also has the advantage of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Let's turn the page. Am I going backward or forward? Let's see, 11. Yeah, we go. Oh, good. Okay. This is the old-fashioned way. This is the way our forefathers did thousands of years ago. Here we go. Like it was actually, for whatever reason it was, there was not the immediate redemption. They pushed away the bad. Because bad, selfishness, was still powerful. Now, why do I equate bad with selfishness? Why do I equate with? Because what does selfishness mean? Selfishness means you feel that you are real and that you are the only reality. That's what's called selfishness. A person is supposed to feel that he's real, but he's not supposed to feel that he's the only reality. You're supposed to feel gratitude that God is creating you. That's what you're supposed to feel. When they left Egypt, they did not feel this. They had all these amazing miracles from God, but that person could still think, God does all these miracles. Hey, I must be pretty important. I'm pretty important. God is doing only all these miracles. I'm the king. I'm the greatest. They don't realize that to put the emphasis on God and not on themselves. But on the other hand, when they did leave Egypt, they did, to a certain degree, do the impossible. They left their own selfishness. They left their own certainty that God does not exist. And if he does exist, he exists only for me. I'm the center. They left us to a certain degree. That's a big, huge novelty. Almost impossible to ask. Remembering going out of Egypt is only in a way of tafel. It'll be secondary. Shetachat hashibud Malchut ikor v'yatziat Mitzrayim tafel. That the fact that we leave all subjugation to this world will be the main thing, and the fact that we left Egypt 3,000 years ago, that'll be a secondary thing. Just like a person makes his birthday, right? A birthday, you make a birthday. What's the big deal? What's the birthday? What did you do? He says, what I did was I came out from the womb into the world. An amazing change. I was totally dependent before on my mother. I was like, the whole thing was just me. I was just receiving. I didn't do anything on my own. A fetus does nothing on its own. It just receives. And I came out into the world. I began to cry, at least to demand to do something. And I began to breathe, right? To suck in the air, to do something. When I was in the fetus, I did nothing. It was the beginning of my individuality. The same thing is when the Jewish people left Egypt, it was the beginning of their individuality. They could make the free choice to serve God. And that was the novelty. And then even when a person gets older, he gets bigger, he still remembers that first day. Wow, the day that I was born. I came from the womb into the world. Even though at that time my personality was totally not developed, there was only, just a seed, but nevertheless the seed was there. Yesh Lomar, we can say, let me get this thing straight over here. The main thing of the revelation is the Geula Shlema will be the complete redemption. Shalamayla, which is above all limitation and boundaries. Ela sheyachadim, but together with this, Mazkirim, we remember Yetziat Mitzrayim, ki amayla the Geula Shlema, because the thing of the future redemption, lamayla mikol medida v'agbala legamri, which is above any limitation whatsoever, in a way that the spirit of evil and death and everything will be taken away from the world. This is called eshapcha, transformation. Where did it come from? Nimshechas medida v'hagbala. It came in this physical world, kol yamei chayecha, in the existence of the world of eskafia, of forcing yourself. And going out of Egypt. I know people that were addicts, and they celebrate the day that they stopped taking drugs or getting drunk or whatever they did. They celebrate that day. Right? Even though that celebrating that day is just going away from bad. They didn't do anything good. It wasn't the first day when they got married, or the first day they got a job, or the first day. It was going out from bad. They left bad. They had the power to defeat the dragon. They had the power to defeat the world. They opened up the power of defiance. That's an amazing thing. And they always remember that. They did the impossible. In the future, redemption is going to be all of the rewards for every we've done will be revealed godliness. But that thing that we did it ourselves will be missing a little bit. Therefore, the fact that in the future there'll be revealed godliness everywhere, but we still have to remember all the time going out of Egypt, going out and defying all of the obstacles and difficulties of this world. That's eskafia. That's called self-control, forcing yourself to do good and to turn from bad. Which is not the case if we did not mention going out of Egypt in the days of the Moshiach. You might think that it's a separate thing. You might think that, that's it, we're finished, right? We're finished. Going out of Egypt is one thing, and now we have a totally new thing, which is the future redemption. Now God's going to do the whole business. It's, so to speak, we've almost like gone back to the fetus again. right? But it's on a higher level. Heaven on earth, got no problems. No problems. Not like when we went out of Egypt, we had problems. It says, never say that. The fact is, you always have to be going higher and higher. You always have to be leaving your limitations, even the limitations that are going to be the holy limitations, which are going to be in the future, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Meantime, I hope I'll be able to get connected and we'll have this, but there's certain advantage to this way also, but not a big advantage. Okay, now let's do the Yom Yom. Let's see if we can do the Yom Yom for today.